Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. As always, huge massive thank you for the support. So I'm coming in with the current, for as long as it lasts, the Bouquet of Gnomes kit. This is the current members free kit over at Hunkydory. You just have to sign up as a member, it costs you nothing, and then you can order this kit and all you pay is the postage. I have got the ultimate kit, which is £12.99, and does include the inserts and the pocket pad, and there's also some lovely decoupage cards as well, but it was going really fast last week when it was launched, so if you want it, I wouldn't hang about because it will go. Okay, so today I'm going to be playing with this Gnome one like you, which is the yellow one. So we've got these daffodils with this lovely cheery gnome here, this cute one with the heart, we've got this little one with his little cat there with the little gnome hat on, and then this happy fella striding along. We've got sentiments. There's Gnome one like you, hip hip hooray, have a beautiful day, and sent with love. Obviously I've got the pocket pad, which I'm going to be using today as well, and then you've got your printed cardstock, your foiled cardstock with another image of one of those gnomes, and like I said, I've got the inserts and papers as part of that ultimate deal. So you've got the inserts and your double-sided papers as well. So let's pop that to the side. There we go. And I'm going to bring in my trimmer first of all. Sorry, super creaky chair. I'm going to start with 2 pieces of 6x12 cardstock, and I'm just going to cut it to 6 inches. And I want 3 of these. So that's fine. And then turn over that. Okay. And then if I move that out of the way just a second, I can bring it in my scoreboard. I have the mini one, which is being discontinued, I saw the other day, so that's a bit of a shame. But I'm just going to pop this on. I've got a black line on the centre there just so I can pop the 2 corners in, and on all of these I'm just going to score down those diagonals. And number 3, so they're all the same. What we're going to do is stick these together to make like a tripod card. Okay, let's pop that out of the way. Everything's going to fall over, and then we can just give these a burnish down. And then what we want to do is we'll have one in the middle. We will stick one onto there like so. We will pop the other one onto there like so. And then when they fold up together, it will turn into a pyramid card like so. So let's go ahead and get some glues out. So obviously I'm going to be using the tacky glue and the all-purpose glue. I'm also going to be using some red liner tape just for a bit of strength with this. We're doing it on the video, and because I want to be manipulating it. If you're just doing it at home, you can just use your wet glues and you will be fine. So I'm just going to pop a piece along there. And then what I want to do is pop that right into the corner. I'm going to pop that down, and then I'm just going to use my glue underneath, like so. And for that top corner I'm going to use my tacky. And then what I'm going to do is do the same on the other side. So take a piece of red liner tape and the important thing is just to make sure that your creases are going with the edges of the card, and then you can't go wrong. So let's put that on there, peel that off. I'm going to put some glue on here this time. I'll do it this side. So I'm showing you both ways just so you can choose which is going to be easiest for yourself. So again, put that to match at the tip and then pop that down. And then you can see when we've used something to tie it together, you can either use a Velcro or hook and loop sort of system and dot. You can use a magnet underneath your layers. I am going to be using some ribbon today. And last time when I did the ribbon, what I did was I used my crocodile to make a hole and then the ribbon ties together. This time I want to try and remember to hide the ribbon under my layers. So I'm just overall the video showing you slightly different ways to do the same thing, and you know, it should work out fine. So I'm just checking that those are all stuck down quite nicely. I think we could do with another little bit of glue here. Just want it to be quite, that's fine, a little bit more up there. Okay, so we can pop that to the side to dry while we work on our layers. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer. I'm going to bring in some gold mirror and I'm going to cut this to 5 3/4. So with this being a sort of diamond, not diamond, a triangle, it does give you that ability to have a slightly wider border. So I've done it at 5 3/4, and then I'm going to pop that again, 2 edges, 2 points on my cut line, and pop that along. And we'll just double check that that's going to be fine. Yep. And I want to do another one of these. So 5 3/4. So there's the 3 sides. You can use the spare bit on the inside if you wanted to put an insert in there, but I am going to be using it on the next card as well. So I'm going to try not to waste any of that today. So we've got those 3 pieces there. Okay, then I'm going to grab the foiled piece, and we're going to cut this to 5 1/2. I'm taking it around this way to 5 1/2. So we will lose those daffodils, but that would make a nice border, and these little bits you're not going to notice. And let's see. Let's go right along. And that should fit beautifully onto there. And for that last little corner, I'm going to use one of the papers. So we'll go with this check, it's tartan sort of check pattern. And again, I'm cutting this to 5 1/2, and then straight down the middle, like so. Again, we've got a piece left over for another time. And then that one's there. then I want to grab my little pocket pad, and I'm going to pick, we'll go with the one with the cat because that was the one on this sheet, and we also have our little one with the heart, but I'm going to cut that down a little bit. So let's take some of this pink off. These are going to decorate my side, so it's not going to be my main side. And I'm going to take a little bit off there as well. You don't have to, you could keep it the same size if you want to. I am going to be rounding corners, but I am going to be putting a gold mirror around it. So let's just grab a piece. So that one is 1 notch under the 3. So let's go to over 3. And then it's to be at 4. So that's that one. And then this one I think is probably going to be too small, but we might be able to take some off just to make this fit. Take a little bit more. That's fine, and then so we need to be 3.5 plus 2 notches for that one. Let's just take another little bit off. Oh, just make it fit nice. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so that I think is all the cutting I need. So let's come back to my pyramid. Now I've got this sort of bright orange ribbon, which I hardly ever use because it is such a bright colour. It doesn't go with many things, but I do feel like it kind of matches these quite well. So I've got 2 pieces there. And what I want is, I think I'll have the ribbon at the side like I did with my other one. So I'm going to have my front on here, and this is going to be side, and then that's going to be the back. Okay, so what I can do is just bring in a little bit of tape. Take 2 pieces so I can do them both at the same time. So we kind of want to be about there, I feel. So let's pop that on there. And then if we come round on the other side, and if I put these on now, then I know I'm not going to forget that they are on there and they need to be on there. Okay, so that's my ribbon. Okay. Now what I will do is just pop some glue under there. And I am going to keep these tails quite long for a bit of support, so they are going to be under the layers, but they're going to be very nicely secured down. Okay, so let's come in with our mirror. You have to let me know what you think of this club gift. I think with those extra decoupage cards, I was surprised we still get a pocket pad, you know, with the Ultimate Bundle, because they could have just said we're giving you those cards instead, but we still get a pocket pad as well, which is amazing. Okay, so that's our first layer there, and then glue on there. I'm not going to put the bits on that middle one for a second. What I want to do is just make sure get these pieces sorted first of all. So let's just make sure those mats are nice and even. And then it's worth just bearing in mind how this is going to stand, and this, so this one I think is going to be better on that side because it's going to have the sky upwards, and then this one is then going to have that sky going upwards there. So let's pop these on. I think I've made this card like 3 times on my channel now, and I think I've done them slightly different each time. So there's bound to be a way that works for you. There we go, that's that one. Should have refilled my tacky before I started, but never mind. Want it to stick very nicely. Let's just try that again. What I do want to do is just move that over if it will let me. Let's just see. And then that should go down. I just needed to go over just that tiny little bit. You know how I faff sometimes. Okay, so now we can come in. We know this is going to be the side one. Here's the hem. And then this one, because it is the paper rather than the card, I'll just use my dotty tape runner from Hunkydory on there. And then we can manoeuvre that into place. And press down on those corners, and that will hold that while that glue's gluing. Okay, so now when this goes together, those white panels will hide away. This will tie together, she says. And obviously I'll do that in a bow, and then that's how your card is going to look at the moment when it's up. Okay, now what I want to do is just do these pieces, and I'm going to use, rather than using the corner rounder, I'm actually going to use this woodware one, which kind of cuts a little chunk out. And I think it's this one is supposed to do a much deeper cut, but because I haven't got this in as far as it should be, it just does a really nice delicate edge. And I prefer it, so I haven't sorted it out. So I've got those ones there. Yeah, that should be better. Sometimes it just doesn't quite get the right angle, but if you go back in, it does. Okay, let's do these as well. And our little gnome. And then we will glue these onto here. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to use the dots again. And my all-purpose or construction glue. And then once I'm happy with that, just give that a little press down. That needs to go over a little bit. There we go, I think that's better. And then same again on this one. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the topper. Okay, so we're going with this big daffodil gnome. And I'm going to use the Have a Beautiful Day. And I've also got, or I did have before I buried it, this Have a Blooming Lovely Day from the Bigger Book of Sentiments, which I'm going to use as well. Now for this next bit, it's going to be easier for me to tie this up, and then we can work out where all of these pieces are going to go. And then once I've put those pieces on, I'm going to decide whether I want to decorate these pieces at the bottom here. Okay, so we're having our front like so. And I'm going to bring, so this is going to be our main topper. And I'm going to grab some 1mm foam pads. Cut some of these up, and then we've got daffodils at the corners on here, so I thought I'd cut myself then, but it's not as that. So we just want to put them on the bottom, the foam pads on the bottom here, and a little bit at the top of the centre. So here we go with our 1mm ones. And then I'm going to cut that like so. And then I'm just going to pop that one on there. It's going to be easier than trying to figure out the exact placement on here. Okay, so as always, a little bit of tacky glue. There. And then what I can do is just turn this round. And it's not the easiest, to be honest, to work out exactly where that needs to go, so just pick. You're going to have to do it by eye and then see how you get on. And then this one I can just, actually no I can't, let's take that off. And then got my glue eraser, so in my head I was able to put these wherever I wanted them to go, but I can't because at the top there is that space and I don't want any foam pads to be showing on the other side. So we can just put them direct onto our pyramid. So these are the 2mm ones, so we do want a little bit of height. And I'm just going to grab some more of those. I've probably got more on the table, but here we go. So once you've worked out the placement of this, really what you could do is lay it flat. But it took me so long to tie it up, and I know I need to put those other ones on, so I will do these bits first. So again, tacky glue or your purple glue stick is your best friend. There we go. And then we should be able to just pop that in the middle of that frame and then take that frame away. If you want to, you can keep that gold frame on. I think with the pyramid card, the sort of beauty is that you have got those areas of space between it. So let's just get that off, get that pressed down. So that's what we're looking like at the moment. Okay, looking pretty cool. And then I think I will decorate down here and pop this one on. But let's come around to here. And let's see, where do we want this to go? Not sure if I'm going to use these now. They're quite big. So that one would fold behind. Okay, I'm going to rethink those. We could just have a sentiment on there. Have a blooming day, have a blooming lovely day. Or we could just go back to our pad and maybe cut some of these out. And then they would be smaller. Just seeing if there's any that's going to be quite easy to cut out. He might be quite easy to cut out. So might he. Okay, so I'm only going to do one layer of decoupage. I'm not going to use those. I'll use those somewhere else. Bear with me. What I'm going to do is just cut around these super quick. Okay, so I've cut around both of those. I put 2mm foam pads on and I've already taken the backs off. So for this one, I'm going to come in and what I'm going to do is just pop that flat on. So a little bit of that tacky glue, and that's going onto that corner. And then if I grab my tacky glue again, just pop some on the back of all of these pads. Grab my tweezers, it's taken by the hat. And we'll have him going like so. And then this one here, again 2mm foam pads on, tacky glue, or you can use your purple glue stick. I'm not putting a sentiment on this side, so it is just going to be our little gnome. And again, I just want to keep him quite straight and mostly on our little pyramid. Okay, so these pieces here, I'm going to need the trimmer again, and I'm going to need some more gold mirror. Just see what that is. So I'm going to start at 2.2 inches. Pretty sure this was what I used before, so let's just see how that fits. That's going to be fine. And then I think I'm going to use these florals, so let's go to just under 2 inches, so 1 notch under 2 inches. Oops, my card's going to fall off the table. And then let's pop. Actually, I want to go that way, I think. Let's see how those fit to there. Yeah, they fit nicely. What I do need to make sure of that's going to be fine on there, and then we need one more, so let's see, is that 2.2? Nope, that is 2. So let me grab this piece here. This is a good chance to use up all of those little bits. So I am going to have a spare bit on this one. And we went one notch under the 2. Oh, rats. It's the trouble with paper and this trimmer. If the blade is not absolutely sharp, sometimes it doesn't pick up. Let's start in the middle, maybe that will be. There we go. Let's start in the middle. Okay. So for these, what I'm going to do is undo this. And we can make sure we're getting things going the right way. It's probably going to be best. Yeah. And a little bit of that all purpose, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room time. And then because we're going on to cardstock, we can go back to our normal glues. It's not straight as it could have been. Pop that in there. Let's just see if I can mend that bit. You know, I'm going to faff if I can. I think it's actually the cut on this one which isn't so great. Oh, we'll go with that, we'll hide it. That's worse than it was in the first place, but we'll hide it with, we'll hide our sentiment on there. Okay, let's move around. That's going to be this one. That's better than the other one was. Thank the Lord, because I wasn't planning on hiding this one. Okay, so that's on there. And then the last one is over here. Think that's going to be the best one for here. Okay. And then again, all purpose tacky, and then I'll bring that across just to guide me. Okay, so it's only that first one that was a bit dodgy. I don't know why that one wanted to be. I'm going to have to cut this again, guys, it's annoying me way too much. Alright, let's get rid of that. I'm sure that one doesn't fit. Okay, let's bring in, let's try the guillotine. It might be harder with the guillotine, but okay. Let's just put that in. Like I say, it's a little bit harder to do small pieces in this guillotine because it's got quite a wide grip, but it does cut a lot nicer. So let's just see which is going to go best on there. Yeah, it's definitely going to be that one. Okay. A little bit of that. Let's see, second time lucky. Ah, yeah, much better. Much better. Okay. And then if I bring this around, tie it back up, and then I can pop that sentiment on. So I'm going to keep these ribbons quite long. In fact, I'm not going to trim them because I think it's just easier to tie a bow with longer pieces. What I might do though is just make sure that they are exactly the same length. And then this sentiment, just going to put two 2mm foam pads on here. Kind of feel, since this one is sort of more of a dimensional card, and we can pop that one on there. Okay, now I don't think this one needs any gems. I did get some gold gems out, but I kind of feel like that in itself is quite nicely decorated. round. In terms of going into an envelope, let's see, no, you would have to, you could probably get it in an 8x6, I would say, maybe, no, 6x8 if it's generous, or maybe make a little gift box for it. But that is going to be card number 1. And what I'm going to do now is just get, once I've cut this up, once I've tied this up for the photos later, I'm just going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, I've got another 6x6 card blank that I've made out of that 6x12 cardstock. And this one is going to be a side fold card, just works better that way. But I'm aiming to use up that last little bit of gold mirror that I used on that last card. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to make this a cutaway card. So I'm putting the point of the crease up there, and then we're going to cut that down. And we're going to have our card that looks like so. And then that one should fit onto there perfectly. And I'm going to need another piece of gold mirror, which I've hidden, to go on the back. So I'm going to take 2 notches off 2 of those sides to make that 2 notches under 6. And I am going to use the papers on this. I don't think I want to use the cardstock. Let me just grab that. Let me just grab that cardstock and see whether I want to put that on the back. Definitely putting that on the front. No, I'm going to do it how I was going to do it. Okay, so let's cut a piece for the back first of all, which is 5 3/4 square. So somebody's going to come in squeaking their ball now. That's going to go on that side. And then if I cut this one to 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then I just want to work out which is going to be the best. Yeah, so I'm going to cut point to point again. So I will have a bit left over on this one. It may come in handy later on. Let's put that blade in the middle. And then we've got that piece there that's going to fit on quite nicely. And that's going to be the start of our card. So let's go ahead and pop this down. So I'm using both sides of the card, the paper. So Hunkydory have gone to all the trouble of making this double-sided paper that coordinates. So I'm just making the most of that. Let's go ahead and pop that down. If you didn't want to use this paper, you would probably find something that would match really nicely in one of the duo design pads. I know there was the sort of check, cheerful check and plaids that was released this year. So you would be bound to find something that would match the colours in there. Okay, so let's pop this on the inside. And if you wanted to, you could use the insert. I just thought with the insert, the design is all on the bottom on this one. Could swap it out for one of the other ones, which has a more all over pattern. Or you might already have an insert left over from another kit that would fit in with it. You just really want something yellow, pinks and sort of fresh green to match him. Okay, let's pop that. And then this basic's going to go on here. So again, nice and simple card building here. And you don't have to stop here. If you wanted to, you could turn this into a joyfold card by just taking a 5x5 card. Let's say this is 5x5, and then popping that onto the back, putting your design on, and then putting your insert on the inside. And that would make that into a joyfold. But that is the start of our card. Let's just get that sitting nicely. And then we have the large squarish topper with our little cat with his gnome, or his gnome with his cat. So I'm going to pop that onto there. Keep that piece out. I'm going to use that in a second. So with this one, I think I'm just going to keep it all nice and low with 1mm foam pads. And basically I just need to go here, and if it won't stuck with me, there and there. And as long as I stay between those, I'm going to be fine. And we have one more here. So just going to take these off. Okay, apologies about the traffic. So somebody who's got a new motorbike and keeps riding it up and down. You know how these young lads are. Pop that on. It probably would have worked better if I'd done the yellow on this side to coordinate against that better, but I'm sure you will forgive me. You can always swap those around yourself if you want to mix it up a little bit. And then this one, I'm actually again going to stay with these 1mm ones. So, but to make it easy for myself, what I'm going to do is pop that in. And we can just pop these in. I can go right up to the edge. And I think there was a little half one here. Let's use that as well. And you could go higher if you wanted to. I'm just keeping it all nice and low, nice low profile. I cut my nails yesterday, so it's a bit hard to get hold of the bits. So again, a little bit of tacky glue, quite a bit of tacky glue. Pop that on. Now, rather than popping this away like I normally would do, so that's how our card is looking. I'm going to take one of those inserts, and I'm going to tape, use the dotty pen on this one. And I want to get pretty much the flowers, and then if I just chop around that roughly to start with. And then what I want to do is just undercut below that frame. I can always neaten it up if I need to. Let's just go roughly around the corners first of all. And what I'm going to do is hide this behind that topper, so we've still got somewhere that can be written like a normal card on here. Don't have to, you could just put the insert on the back if you wanted to. Okay, so now we've roughly cut around that, we can just go around and tidy up any bits that are showing. Just peel those back from the dots a little bit. And nobody's going to see the underside of this because it's going to be hidden at the back of our card. Let's just pull that up here a little bit. Let's just get a little closer there. And we have so if you see any bits sort of showing, then just go around. You can see how messy it looks on the back, but nobody is going to see that. Okay, so there we've got our little insert. I'm going to do with this one just because I can, because that's paper. And what I'm going to do is pop that into where that hole would be. Hold that there and shut my card. And then that is going to be hidden on the inside, and also it's not going to distract on this side. So just a little bit of a difference there, a little bit of a different outlook on that. Now the sentiment on this page is there's Gnome one like you, that's the one with the little cat there, but I don't want to put that on there. I want to make this into a birthday card. So I've got one of my sentiments, it's on two adorable scoreable, just little scraps, you know, and I've cut bits out, and I think it's a Spellbinder's sentiment, come with something or other. So I'm just going to pop this on somewhere, I think maybe on the bottom, but we will go a little higher on that one. We'll go for the 2mm frame pads. There we go. Don't know why I was going to put those in the bin then. And I'm going to balance this on the frame, and then I was going to use gold gems, but I think because I've used this green, I'm going to bring the green in the gems. So if I grab, hopefully I've got those mermaid ones to hand, here they are. And maybe my knife. Give that a bit of a flex. Sometimes it tends to dry, sort of curved a little bit, if you don't keep an eye on it. Okay, let's go with these sort of light green ones, not quite the same green as this, just slightly darker. Bringing those green tones in. One of these days I'm going to spear myself with this knife. So I'm just going to go with 3 there, and then I'm going to pick 2 of the smaller ones, and there you are. Bring these in down the bottom. And that is going to be my finished card. So really the aim of that second card was to use up that odd triangle from the first card, which I'll bring in a second. But that's just like a little cutaway card. I'm quite happy we've still got that insert in there, so we can still use it like a normal card. It's still going to stand like a normal card. Yeah, I like that one. That's quite a nice one. So let me bring back in that first one. Like I say, you can turn that into a joy fold by just putting that other card over. You could use acetate up there if you've got some of the acetates that they've had that will work lovely with it. Any flowers, script, butterflies, anything like that would work with this kit. I can't really pop that one down. Oh, there we go. I'll just have to hold it like so. But those are the 2 cards today. So that's from the Gnome one, like you. So next time I'm going to be coming back with another set here. I'm going to keep working through this whole kit. And then, although I have used those pocket pads today, I do want to do a couple of other ideas on there. On the pocket pads, so we will see what we come up with. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye.